The Vikings were feared across the world, brutal, unstoppable, until they landed here. They thought it would be another easy conquest. But what they found was a tribe so elusive, so cunning, they didn't just fight the Vikings. They humiliated them. And yet almost nobody talks about it. This is the story of how a forgotten tiny tribe, lost to the dusty pages of history, brought the most feared warriors in history to their knees, without outnumbering them, without better weapons, and without leaving a trace, but with cunning sharper than a winter's frost. Can you imagine it? Their stories calling ready to dive in? Settle into your cozy nook, dim those lights, and let the day's hustle slip away like mist on the water. You're about to drift into a world where courage blooms in the harshest winds, where every heartbeat tells a tale. Breathe deep, feel your shoulders soften, and let the fjords carry you back to a time when the Bjarmians thrived, hidden in plain sight. The Bjarmians lived in a tucked-away village along a Scandinavian fjord, where cliffs stood like silent sentinels and the sea churned with restless energy. Their homes long houses of pine and birch, thatched with reeds huddled close, as if sharing warmth against the biting wind. Step inside one, and you'd smell wood smoke mingling with the tang of dried fish and barley porridge simmering over a crackling fire. Picture women in woolen tunics, their fingers nimble as they wove intricate patterns into cloth, and men hauling nets heavy with cod, their laughter echoing like a song. Children scampered about, clutching wooden toys carved into ravens or seals, their giggles a reminder that joy thrives even in tough times. You can feel it, can't you? That pulse of life, simple, yet stubborn, like a weed pushing through stone. Their culture was a tapestry woven from the land itself. The Bjarmians revered the fjord as a living spirit, its tides a heartbeat they danced to. Every dusk, they gathered under the sky's fading glow, some wearing masks of bark and bone, carved with swirling patterns to honor the spirits of sea and forest. These masks, worn during rituals or secret councils, hid their faces but bared their souls, a symbol of unity with the wild. Nose piercings, small rings of polished bone or amber, glinted on many marks of passage, courage, or devotion. The fjord sees us, and we see it. Elder Lysa would say, her voice soft as moss, but sharp as a blade. Lysa, with her gray braid and piercing gaze, led not with force, but with wisdom, her nose ring catching the firelight as she spoke of balance and survival. Teamwork was their backbone, like roots entwining to hold a tree firm. Every task mending nets, curing fish, or raising a new longhouse saw the whole village pitch in. Picture this: a dozen hands hoisting a beam, voices chanting in rhythm, sweat mingling with smiles. No one stood above another. Even Lysa hauled rope when storms battered the shore. Their weapons, too, were born of the land spears tipped with sharpened flint, bows strung with sinew, and slings crafted from woven reeds. These weren't tools of conquest, but of defense, honed for precision in the shadows of cliffs and forests. The Bjarmians didn't clash openly. They struck like whispers, using the environment as their shield and sword. A fog-shrouded ambush here, a trap of tangled vines there. Their attacks were secrets the fjord kept close. Life wasn't easy, winters gnawed at their bones, with frost creeping into every crack of their homes. Food was scarce when storms kept boats ashore, and the ache of hunger was a familiar guest. Imagine a mother rationing her share to feed her child, or a fisherman rubbing sore hands after hours in icy waters. Yet they endured, their resilience a fire that never dimmed. The cold tests us, but the heart warms us, Lysa would say. Her words a life quote you can carry even now. Think about it when life's storms hit. Don't you find strength in the small things, like a kind word or a shared meal? The Bjarmians did, and it made them unbreakable. Their traditions were a dance of survival and spirit. At moonlit gatherings they sang low, haunting melodies to the fjord, believing their voices called fish to the nets. Some wore masks during these songs, their carved eyes seeming to glow, as if the spirits joined the chorus. Nose piercings were earned in rituals, perhaps a first hunt or a night spent alone on the cliffs, facing the wind's howl. These weren't just adornments. They were stories etched in bone, proof of grit. Their weapons, too, held meaning. A young warrior named Torin, whose hands trembled with a hidden ailment, carved his sling from willow, whispering thanks to the tree. "Nature fights with us," he'd mutter, practicing in the forest's embrace, where he'd vanish into shadows for a strike no one saw coming. The Bjarmians' world was one of balance, but balance is fragile, isn't it? Across the sea, the Viking age roared like a beast waking up. Dragon-prowed longships sliced through waves, their crews hungry for loot, land, or glory. The Vikings were no strangers to these shores, their sails spotted now and then, like storm clouds on the horizon. Most tribes quaked at the sight, but the Bjarmians, they watched, waited, and planned. Their secrecy was their strength, their knowledge of the fjord's moods a weapon sharper than any axe. Picture them in the forest, masked figures blending with the trees, setting traps of sharpened stakes hidden in moss. The Vikings might come, but the Bjarmians were ready to make the land itself fight back. Now, let's meet Torin, a young man with a spark in his eyes but a tremble in his hands. A health issue he hides, fearing it'll mark him weak. He's no typical warrior, but his mind's quick, his slingshot deadly when aimed from a cliff's shadow. Torin's got a heart full of dreams, maybe even love for a weaver named Sigrid, whose nose-piercing glints as she teases him. Hit the mark, shaky, or you're mending nets all winter. There's Lysa, too, the elder who sees through people like glass. Her leadership isn't loud, but when she speaks, the village listens. She's grappling with her own burden. Age is slowing her, and she wonders if she can still guide her people through what's coming. Their struggles feel familiar, don't they? You've faced your own battles, maybe doubting your strength, yet pushing on like Torin and Lysa. The Bjarmians weren't rich in gold, but their fjord was a treasure chest of fish, furs, and amber goods the Vikings coveted. This economic power gave them leverage, but also painted a target on their backs. Unlike the Norsemen who traded or raided for wealth, the Bjarmians shared everything. Picture a feast where every bowl is passed, every story told, no one left hungry. Their egalitarianism was radical for the time, with women like Lysa or Sigrid holding sway as much as any man. This wasn't just culture, it was defiance. A middle finger to the Viking code of might over all. Power's not in taking, but in giving, Lysa would say. And you can feel the truth in that, can't you? It's a lesson for today, when sharing a kind word can outshine a clenched fist. Let's talk hardship, you, because the Middle Ages weren't a picnic. Imagine waking to a roof leaking icy rain, your stomach growling as the last of the barley dwindles. Sickness swept through like a thief coughs that lingered, fevers that stole the young. Torin's trembling hands? Maybe a nerve issue, untreatable then, a quiet shame he carried. Yet the Bjarmians faced it all with grit, leaning on each other like trees in a storm. You've been there, haven't you? Facing a tough day, but finding strength in a friend's laugh or a warm drink. Their resilience is a mirror, showing you what's possible when you hold fast. Humor kept them light, too. Picture Torin practicing his sling, accidentally launching a stone into a fish barrel. Sigurd's cackle rings out. Nice shot. Here next time, aim for the Vikings. Not our supper. The village roars and even Torin grins, his worry easing. Here's a pun for you. Their lives were a net gain, weaving love and laughter through the struggle. That's the Bjarmian way, finding joy in the cracks, like sunlight through a storm cloud. You're smiling now, aren't you? Good, let that warmth settle in as you sink deeper into this tale. Their secrecy was their edge. In the forest, masked Bjarmians moved like ghosts, using the fjord's fog to hide trap pits lined with flint-tipped stakes, vines rigged to trip. Their weapons, born of nature, were extensions of the land, a spear from a fallen branch, a sling from river reeds. They didn't fight like Vikings, all clash and roar. No, they struck from the shadows, silent as a wolf's tread, the environment their ally. Imagine a Viking stumbling into a hidden net, cursing as Bjarmians vanish into the mist. That's their magic, you a dance of cunning over brute force. The Viking threat loomed closer now. Scouts whispered of a long ship spotted beyond the fjord's mouth, its crew eyeing the Bjarmians' amber and furs. The village buzzed, not with fear, but with purpose. Lysa gathered them at dusk, her mask carved with raven wings, her voice a steady drum. The sea brings wolves, but we're the tide that drowns them. Torin, clutching his sling, felt his heart race. Would his hands hold steady when the time came? The fjord seemed to hum, as if it knew what was coming. Asterisk, and you, cozy in your bed, can you feel it too? That spark of something big just over the horizon? Here's a life quote to carry you. The fjord doesn't fight the storm. It flows with it. The Bjarmians live that truth, bending but never breaking. You're tougher than you know, too, facing your own storms with quiet strength. Feel that gratitude sinking in? For your warm bed, your next breath, your own stubborn heart? This story's for you, a lullaby of courage to ease you toward sleep. Asterisk, but hold on, you, the Vikings are sailing closer, and the Bjarmians? They've got a secret sharper than any spear. What's it gonna be? The Vikings rolled in like a storm cloud, all thunder and flash, but the Bjarmians? They're the quiet current ready to pull them under. Ready to see how it all begins. You settle deeper into your cozy spot. Let the world's noise fade like a distant wave. Picture those fjords, their misty cliffs whispering secrets. And breathe slow, let this tale wrap you in its warmth. You're safe here, drifting into a story where courage meets cunning, where two worlds clash and sparks fly. Feel your heart ease, your mind soften. as the Bjarmians faced their greatest test yet. The morning sun barely pierced the fog, blanketing the Bjarmian village, nestled tight against the fjord's jagged embrace. The air carried the sharp tang of salt and pine, mixed with the earthy scent of damp wool as villagers went about their dawn tasks. Women like Sigrid, her nose piercing, glinting like a tiny star, knotted fishing nets with deft fingers, her teasing laugh cutting through the chill. Men hauled baskets of cod, their boots crunching on the rocky shore, while children darted between longhouses, their wooden raven toys clutched tight. But today a hush hung heavy. Torin, the young warrior with trembling hands, stood on a cliff's edge, his eyes locked on the horizon. His sling, woven from river reeds, hung at his side, a quiet promise of the fight to come. "They're here," he muttered, spotting a red and white sail, slicing through the mist like a blade through cloth. The Bjarmians had known this day was coming. Whispers of Viking raids had trickled in for weeks, tales of dragon-prowed ships, warriors with axes that gleamed like moonlight, and villages left smoldering. Most tribes would have packed up and fled, but the Bjarmians, they were different, y'all. Their strength wasn't in numbers or steel, but in the land itself, the fjord's tricky currents, the forest's tangled shadows, the fog that cloaked their secrets. Elder Lysa, her gray braids swinging like a pendulum, had called a council the night before, masked in carved bark, her raven-winged mask casting eerie shadows. She'd spoken with fire in her voice. "The wolves are at our door, but we're no sheep." Her nose piercing, a polished bone ring, caught the firelight, a badge of her authority in a world where women's wisdom often went unheard. Now, as the Viking longship glided closer, the Bjarmians moved like a single breath. Some donned masks, bone and wood etched with swirls of sea, and sky too, blend with the forest if needed. Others checked their weapons, flint-tipped spears, sinew-strung bows and slings like Torins, all crafted from the fjord's gifts. These weren't tools for glory, but for survival, designed for strikes from the shadows. Picture a Bjarmian slipping through the trees, their mask making them one with the bark, ready to loose a stone or arrow before vanishing into the mist. Their tactics were the fjord's own silent, sudden and sharp like a wave breaking on unseen rocks. The Vikings landed at the rocky beach, their boots thudding like drumbeats. Led by Ragnar, a bear of a man with a braided beard and a laugh that rattled the cliffs. They were all swagger and steel. Their leather armor creaked, their axes glinted, and their eyes scanned the village for loot. The Bjarmians' longhouses, modest and moss-covered, looked like easy pickings. "No gold, but that amber'll fetch a pretty price," Ragnar growled, eyeing the small carvings and nose piercings glinting on the villagers. He didn't know it, but he just walked into a chess game where the Bjarmians held every piece. Lysa stepped forward, alone at first, her woolen cloak billowing like a storm cloud. No mask now, her face was her weapon, her gaze steady as granite. Torin flanked her, his trembling hands hidden beneath his cloak, his sling tucked close. Sigrid lingered nearby, her sharp tongue ready but her hands busy with a net, a cover for the flint dagger at her hip. The village watched from doorways and cliffs, some masked, ready to melt into the forest if the talks turned sour. "Welcome, strangers," Lysa called, her voice smooth as river stones, but laced with iron. "Hope you're not here for our stew. It's a family recipe, and we don't share." A ripple of laughter broke the tension among the Bjarmians, but the Vikings' grins were cold, their hands twitching toward their axes. Ragnar stepped forward, towering over Lysa, his smirk half amused, half annoyed. "Bold words for a village with no walls," he said. "Give us your amber, your furs, and we'll leave you in peace." Cultural collisions sparked like flint on steel. The Vikings lived for conquest, their world one of might and honor, where weakness was a sin. The Bjarmians, though, were a puzzle communal, unyielding, their wealth not in hoards but in fish and unity. Lysa tilted her head, her nose piercing, catching the light. "Peace isn't given, friend, it's earned. Tell me, what cuts sharper than your axe but draws no blood?" Her riddle, a Bjarmian tradition, hung in the air like fog. Ragnar squinted, thrown off. "Fear, you?" The answer was fear, and the Bjarmians were already wielding it. Torin's heart pounded, his hands shaking worse under the pressure. He was no warrior in the Viking mold, all muscle and roar. His strength was in his mind, in the traps he'd helped set, nets hidden in the shallows, stakes buried under moss. But doubt gnawed at him. What if his hands failed when the moment came? You know that feeling, don't you? Standing at the edge of a challenge, wondering if you've got what it takes. Torin glanced at Sigrid, her teasing smile grounding him like an anchor. "Don't choke, Shaky," she'd whispered earlier, tossing him a wink. Now her eyes were fierce, ready to fight or flee as one with the tribe. The Vikings, impatient, pressed closer, their boots stirring pebbles. Ragnar's crew numbered 30, their long ship a hulking shadow in the fjord. They saw no army, just villagers with slings and spears, laughable, right? But the Bjarmians' power was in the land. The fjord's currents could snag a ship, the cliffs hid archers, and the fog was a mask for their movements. They didn't need walls. The environment was their fortress. Ragnar demanded tribute again, but Lysa countered with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Stay, eat, talk," she offered. "Our fire's warm, but our terms are our own." It was a gamble, hospitality as a lure, buying time for their plans to unfold. The Vikings agreed, setting camp on the beach, their laughter loud but their eyes wary. The Bjarmians moved like shadows, offering bread and dried fish while watching every move. Torin slipping into the forest with a few others. Checked traps, vines rigged to trip, pits lined with flint. Some wore masks, blending with the trees, their nose piercings the only glint in the gloom. Their secrecy was a dance, each step precise, like a heron stalking fish. The Vikings, gorging on bread, didn't see the net tightening. "You feel that, don't you?" The narrator murmurs, voice soft as a lullaby. That hum of something brewing, like a storm just out of sight. The Bjarmians are playing a game the Vikings don't even know they're in. Humor lightened the tension. Torin, trying to mimic Ragnar's booming laugh, sounded like a strangled gull. Sigrid snorted, whispering, "Stick to slings, hero, you're no skald." The village chuckled, even as they worked, their unity a shield against fear. "Here's a pun for you. The Vikings thought they'd net a quick win, but the Bjarmians were about to reel them in. That's the spirit. You're finding a laugh when the world's pressing down. It's like cracking a joke in a tough meeting, isn't it? Lifts the soul, keeps you steady." This clash wasn't just about swords or slings, it was mind meetings, cultures grinding like millstones. The Vikings saw power in taking. The Bjarmians found it in giving, in sharing every fish, every story. Lace's leadership, a woman's voice in a man's world, was a quiet rebellion. Sigurd's wit, Thorin's hidden struggle health, failing but heart fierce, showed their humanity. You've felt that, haven't you? Carrying a burden but standing tall, like a tree, bending in the wind. Their hardships mirrored yours cold nights. Empty bellies, the ache of uncertainty. Yet they faced it together, and that's a lesson for today. No one stands alone, Lysa said. A life quote to carry. The tide lifts every boat, or none. Feel that gratitude sinking in, you, for the people who lift you, for the warmth of your bed. The encounter ended with no blood shed, not yet. The Vikings camped, their fire a red eye in the dusk, unaware of the eyes watching from the cliffs. The Bjarmians retreated to their longhouses, masks off but plans alive. Lysa whispered to Thorin, "The fjord's with us, boy. Let it sing." Thorin nodded, his trembling hands steadying as he gripped his sling, thinking of Sigurd's smile. The fjord hummed, its currents hiding secrets, its fog a cloak for what was coming. Asterisk, and you, tucked in tight, can you feel the pulse of it? The Vikings think they're hunting, but the Bjarmians? They're about to turn the tide. What's their next move, you wonder? The Vikings think they've got the Bjarmians cornered. But you know better, don't you? Those quiet villagers are about to play a game of shadows that'll leave the Norsemen reeling. Asterisk. Snuggle deeper into your cozy haven. Let the day's weight slip away like pebbles in a stream. Picture the fjord's mist curling around you, its whispers soft as a lullaby. You're safe here, drifting into a tale where brains outshine brawn, where the Bjarmians turn the land itself into their greatest ally. Breathe slow, feel your heart settle, and let this story carry you like a gentle tide into a world of cunning and courage. The Viking camp sprawled along the rocky beach, their fire spitting sparks into the twilight like a dragon's breath. Laughter and boasts echoed Ragnar's crew. 30 strong, clinked horns of mead, their axes propped close, glinting like hungry eyes. They'd accepted the Bjarmians' offer of hospitality, thinking it weakness, a chance to size up their prey. Big mistake, y'all. The Bjarmians, tucked in their long houses or hidden among the cliffs, were no lambs waiting for slaughter. They were weavers of secrets, their minds as sharp as the flint tips on their spears. Elder Lysa, her nose piercing, glinting like a beacon, had whispered to the village at dusk, "Let the fjord fight for us." And so it would. Picture the Bjarmians moving like ghosts in the fog. Some wore masks of bark and bone, carved with swirls of sea and raven, blending with the forest's shadows. Their nose piercings, bone or amber caught faint moonlight, a quiet signal to one another as they slipped through the trees. Their weapons, born of the land, were ready, slings woven from river reeds, arrows tipped with sharpened flint, spears crafted from fallen branches. These weren't tools for open battle, but for strikes from the dark, sudden as a hawk's dive. Young Thorin, his trembling hands steadier now with purpose, led a small group to rigged traps vines stretched across paths, pits lined with flint spikes hidden under moss. The fjord's currents churned nearby, a natural trap for any ship that strayed too close. This was their way, not to clash but to outwit, using the environment like a chessboard. The Bjarmians' plan was psychological warfare, pure and simple. They knew the Vikings' strength, brute force, fearless charges, but also their weakness, superstition. Fear cuts deeper than steel, Lysa had said, her voice a life quote that echoed through the village. So they spun tales to spook their foes. By night, masked Bjarmians crept near the Viking camp, whispering eerie chants that carried on the wind. Like spirits mourning in the fog, they rigged branches to sway, casting shadows that looked like wraiths in the mist. One warrior, Sigurd's brother Eirik, beat a hollow log to mimic a beast's growl, sending a Viking sentry scrambling back to camp, muttering about ghosts. You can imagine it, can't you? That prickle down your spine when the dark plays tricks. The Bjarmians were the tricksters, and the Vikings were falling for it. Torin, despite his shaky hands, was at the heart of it. His health issue a tremor he hid from most made him doubt his worth. But Lysa saw his mind's fire. You don't need steady hands to aim true, she'd told him, her words a balm. Picture him now, crouched in the forest, his mask making him one with the pines, his sling loaded with a smooth river stone. He'd practiced for hours, learning to trust his aim despite the shakes. Like you've learned to push through your own struggles, haven't you? Maybe it's a tough day at work or a quiet worry. Torin's fight feels familiar. A reminder that courage isn't about perfection, but persistence. Sigrid, ever the spark, worked the village's front line. Her nose-piercing gleamed as she hauled nets with the women, her sharp tongue keeping spirits high. If those Vikings want our fish, they'll have to swim for 'em, she quipped, earning grins even as they worked under pressure. Her role wasn't just labor, she was Lysa's eyes, watching the Vikings' every move, noting who carried what weapon, who limped, who boasted loudest. The Bjarmians' teamwork was seamless, like a flock of birds turning as one. Men, women, even children played parts. Some carried messages. Others hid supplies, all bound by a shared will. This wasn't just a village. It was a family stronger together, like roots holding a cliff against the sea. The fjord itself was their greatest weapon. Its currents twisted like a snake, snagging careless ships on hidden rocks. The Bjarmians knew every quirk, where the tide pulled hardest, where fog pooled thickest. They'd lured boats before, guiding them to ruin with false beacons of driftwood fires. Now they planned to use it again. Picture masked figures lighting small fires on distant cliffs, tricking the Vikings into thinking the village lay elsewhere. When Ragnar sent a scout boat to investigate, it caught in the currents, splintering on jagged stones. The crew swam back, cursing, their confidence shaken. The fjord's got teeth, Torin whispered to Sigrid, a grin breaking through his nerves. She elbowed him, smirking, and wear its bite. Humor kept them grounded. As Eirik rigged a trap, he tripped over a vine, landing in a puddle with a yelp. Great warrior, huh? Sigrid teased, tossing him a rag. You're scaring the fish, not the Vikings. The laughter rippled, easing the village's tension. Here's a pun for you. The Bjarmians were reeling in the Vikings. Hook, line, and sinker. That's the spirit, y'all finding a chuckle when the stakes are high. Like cracking a joke to lighten a rough day. You know how it feels, don't you? A laugh can be a lifeline, pulling you through the dark. The Vikings, meanwhile, grew restless. Ragnar, pacing by the fire, sensed something off. His men whispered of haunted woods, of shadows that moved without sound. Their bravado was cracking, like ice under a spring thaw. The Bjarmians fed this fear, leaving signs carved bones placed near the camp, looking like omens. One Viking swore he saw a masked figure vanish into the fog, only to find a flint-tipped arrow stuck in his shield come morning. "Odin's not with us here," he muttered, and Ragnar's scowl deepened. The Bjarmians didn't need to draw blood yet. They were winning by unraveling minds. This was cultural collision at its peak. The Vikings thrived on open battle, their sagas full of heroes clashing shield to shield. The Bjarmians? They fought like the fjord itself, elusive, patient, striking where least expected. Their masks weren't just ritual. They were strategy, hiding identities in ambush. Their nose piercings, earned through trials, marked them as one, a tribe united by shared grit. Women like Lysa and Sigrid held power, defying the Viking world where men ruled by might. "We don't bend to force," Lysa murmured, her words a life quote for you. "The willow sways, but it stands." Think about it when life pushes. Don't you find strength in bending, not breaking? Hardship was their shadow. The Bjarmians worked through the night, their hands raw from tying vines, their stomachs tight from rationed meals. Thorin's tremors worsened with exhaustion, and he feared letting his people down. Lysa, too, felt age's ache in her bones, wondering if she could outsmart a foe so fierce. You've been there, haven't you? Pushing through pain or doubt, carrying a load for those you love. Their struggles mirror yours, but so does their resilience. Picture their longhouses, warm with shared fires, their voices low but steady. They leaned on each other, and that's a lesson for today. Community lifts you, like a tide carrying a boat to shore. The Bjarmians' economic power lay in their fjord's bounty fish. Furs, amber, but their true strength was their unity. Unlike the Vikings, who hoarded for glory, they shared every catch, every blanket. This egalitarianism was their rebellion, a quiet defiance of a world ruled by greed. You feel that gratitude, don't you? For the people in your life who share without asking, who stand with you when the wind howls. The Bjarmians' hardships, gold, hunger, fear make your warm bed feel like a gift, don't they? Let that sink in as you drift deeper into this tale. As dawn crept over the cliffs, the Vikings stirred their camp tents with unease. Ragnar planned a dawn raid, thinking to overrun the village. But the Bjarmians were ready, their traps set, their masked figures poised in the forest. Thorin, sling in hand, felt Sigurd's hand on his shoulder. Her whisper fierce, "You've got this, shaky." Lysa watched from a long house, her mask off but her spirit fierce. Knowing the fjord would fight with them, the fog thickened, the currents hummed, and the Bjarmians waited, silent as the stars. Asterisk, and you, cozy and calm, can you feel the pulse of what's coming? The Vikings are charging, but the Bjarmians are about to pull a move that'll leave them stunned. What's it gonna be? The Vikings charge like a storm breaking, but the Bjarmians, they're the rock that splits the wave. Ready to see how this showdown unfolds, you? Sink deeper into your soft haven. Let the world's clamor fade like a distant echo. Picture the fjord's mist wrapping you in calm, its whispers a gentle guide into a tale of triumph and cost. You're safe here, cradled by a story where courage faces its test, where hearts bend but don't break. Breathe slow, feel your worries slip away, and let the Bjarmians fight carry you into a world where every choice matters. Dawn broke over the fjord, painting the cliffs in hues of gold and shadow, but the air crackled with tension. The Viking camp, a sprawl of leather tents and smoldering fires, buzzed with purpose. Ragnar, his braided beard swinging like a war banner, rallied his 30 warriors, their axes and shields gleaming like teeth in the half-light. They'd had enough of the Bjarmians' tricks, the eerie chants. The shadows in the fog, the scout boat splintered on hidden rocks. No more games, Ragnar roared, his voice a thunderclap. We'd take their village, their amber, their lives. The Vikings, fueled by mead and wounded pride, marched toward the Bjarmian longhouses, expecting a quick rout. Oh, buddy, they were in for a surprise. The Bjarmians, hidden in their village and the surrounding forest, were ready. Masked figures, their bark and bone masks carved with sea swirls, crouched among pines, blending with the dawn's haze. Nose piercings amber and bone glinted as signals in the gloom, a silent code among the tribe. Their weapons, crafted from nature's gifts, were primed, flint-tipped spears, sinew-strung bows and slings like torrens, loaded with river stones. These weren't tools for a battlefield clash, but for strikes from the shadows, guided by the fjord's own rhythms. Elder Lysa, her gray braid tucked under a cloak, stood in a long house, her nose piercing, catching the firelight as she murmured, "The fjord fights with us. Let it roar." Her leadership, a woman's steady hand and a world of iron, was their anchor. Torin, heart pounding, crouched on a cliff overlooking the beach, his trembling hands gripping his sling. His secret ailment, a tremor that worsened under stress, gnawed at his confidence. What if he missed his mark? What if he failed Sigrid, Lysa, the village? You know that feeling, don't you? Standing at the edge of a moment, doubting your strength, but pushing forward anyway. Sigrid, nearby, adjusted her own sling, her nose-piercing flashing as she shot him a grin. "Don't choke, Shaky," she whispered, her tease a spark of light in the tension. "Hit him where it hurts, or I'm eating your share of stew." Her humor, sharp as a flint arrow, steadied him, like a friend's laugh pulling you through a rough patch. The battle began not with a clash, but a whisper. The Vikings stormed the village path, shields raised, expecting resistance. Instead, they met silence and traps. Vines snapped taut, tripping warriors into pits lined with flint spikes. Masked Bjarmians, hidden in the fog, loosed stones from slings, striking helmets with cracks that echoed like thunder. Arrows whistled from cliffs, flint tips finding gaps in leather armor. The fjord's currents played their part. To Ragnar's second boat, sent to flank the village, snagged on rocks the Bjarmians had marked with false beacons. It tilted, spilling warriors into icy waters, their shouts swallowed by the mist. Picture it, you, the Vikings, all might and fury, stumbling like bulls in a net, while the Bjarmians moved like wolves, unseen and untouchable. Psychological warfare wove through every move. The Bjarmians' chants rose again, eerie and low, drifting from the forest like spirits calling. Masked figures darted at the edges of vision, vanishing before axes could swing. One Viking, clutching a carved bone left near their camp, swore it was cursed, his voice shaking. Ragnar bellowed to rally them, but doubt had taken root, like frost cracking stone. The Bjarmians didn't need to outfight. They outhaunt, turning the Vikings' strength into a weight that dragged them down. Fear's a blade that cuts the mind first, Lysa had said, and you can feel its truth, can't you? When worry grips you, it's the quiet strength within that fights back. Teamwork was the Bjarmians' heartbeat. Picture the village moving as one, women like Sigrid hurling stones, men like Eirik resetting traps, even children passing arrows to archers. Lysa directed from the longhouse, her voice a steady drum, while masked scouts signaled with nose-piercing glints, guiding strikes through the fog. This wasn't just a fight. It was a dance, every step planned, every hand vital. You've seen that, haven't you? A team pulling together, lifting each other like a tide lifts all boats. Their unity was their power. A lesson for today: when you lean on others, you're stronger than you know. But victory came at a cost. Torin, aiming from the cliff, felled a Viking with a stone, only to see another charge Sigrid. His hand shook, but he loosed another shot, striking true. Sigrid spun, unharmed, and nodded, her eyes fierce with pride. Yet the moment lingered. Torin spared a fallen Viking, a young man begging mercy against Lysa's orders to show none. His heart, torn between duty and compassion, mirrored Lysa's own struggle. Age weighed on her, her joints aching as she moved, yet she led with fire, knowing one mistake could doom them all. Their vulnerability, so human, hits home, doesn't it? You've faced choices where right and wrong blur, where your heart pulls one way and duty another. The battle turned as the sun climbed. The Vikings, battered by traps and shaken by shadows, faltered. Ragnar, bloodied from a flint arrow, roared for retreat, his men stumbling back to their camp. The Bjarmians didn't pursue, they didn't need to. The fjord, the fog, their cunning had won. Cheers rose, soft at first, then bold, as masked figures emerged from the forest, nose piercings glinting like tiny victories. Sigrid hugged Torin, laughing. You didn't choke, Shaky. He grinned, but his hands trembled worse, the cost of his effort clear. Lysa, watching from the longhouse, felt a pang. Victory was theirs, but at what price? Humor threaded through the triumph. Eirik, limping from a trap he'd accidentally triggered, groaned. I'm better at setting him than dodging him. Sigrid quipped. Stick to fishing, brother, you're a danger to yourself. The village laughed, the sound of bomb after the chaos. Here's a pun for you. The Vikings came for a haul, but the Bjarmians netted the win. That's the spirit, y'all finding light in the dark, like a joke shared over coffee when life's heavy. You're smiling, aren't you? Let that warmth settle as you sink into this tale. The cost lingered, though. A few Bjarmians lay wounded, their groans mingling with the wind. Families huddled, mourning a fisherman lost to an axe. Torin's act of mercy haunted him. Had he weakened their stand? Lysa, too, questioned her resolve, her age a shadow as she bandaged a child's arm. Picture their longhouses, warm but heavy with grief. The fjord's hum, a reminder of life's fragility. You feel it, don't you? The weight of loss, the gratitude for those still standing. Their hardships blood cold, Fear make your cozy bed a treasure, a reason to breathe deep and hold tight to what matters. This clash wasn't just a fight. It was a collision of worlds. The Vikings' might crumbled against the Bjarmians' cunning, their masks and environmental tricks turning strength into weakness. Lysa's leadership, Sigurd's fire, Thorin's struggle, women and men, young and old, stood equal, defying a world that prized only force. Victory's a seed planted in blood, Lysa murmured. A life quote for you. It grows only if you tend it. Think about it, your wins, big or small, come with costs, but they shape you like a river carves a canyon. As dusk fell, the Bjarmians gathered, unmasking to share a quiet meal. Thorin, hands shaking, sat by Sigrid, her touch a silent strength. Lysa watched the fjord, knowing the Vikings weren't gone for good. Ragnar's retreat was a pause, not a surrender, and something deeper stirred a secret, buried in the village's past, tied to the fjord's heart. Asterisk, you feel that hum, don't you, cozy in your bed? Victory's sweet, but a shadow lingers. What's the Bjarmians' next step? And what's that secret waiting to break free? The battle's dust has settled, but the fjord still hums with secrets. The Bjarmians won, but what comes after victory? A bridge, maybe, where swords once fell. Asterisk, nestle deeper into your cozy cocoon. Let the world's edges blur like mist on water. Picture the fjord's gentle lapping. Its whispers a soft embrace pulling you into a tale of healing and hope. You're safe here, wrapped in a story where hearts reach across divides, where resilience blooms like spring after a long winter. Breathe slow, feel your worries drift away, and let the Bjarmians' next step guide you toward peace. The sun hung low over the fjord, casting long shadows across the Bjarmian village. The air smelled of salt and smoke, tinged with the faint iron of blood from the morning's clash. Longhouses stood proud, their thatched roofs glowing in the dusk, but the village was quieter now, nursing wounds and losses. A fisherman's empty seat at the fire, a child's bandaged arm, the cost of victory weighed heavy. Yet the Bjarmians, ever stubborn as the cliffs, gathered to mend nets and share stew, their unity of fire that warmed the chill. Masked figures, their bark and bone carvings now tucked away, moved among the longhouses, nose piercings glinting like tiny promises of strength. Their weapons flint-tipped spears, reed-woven slings rested by doors, ready but still, a reminder of the fight they'd won. Elder Lysa stood at the village's heart, her gray braid loose, her nose piercing catching the firelight. Her joints ached from the day's strain, but her eyes burned with purpose. She'd led them through battle, a woman's wisdom outshining Viking steel. But now she faced a new challenge. What to do with the defeated? The Vikings, battered and humbled, camped on the beach, their longship limping from the fjord's rocky traps. Ragnar, their chieftain, had retreated, but one warrior, Bjorn, stayed behind a young man with a scarred cheek and a curious gaze. He'd been spared by Thorin's mercy, a choice that defied Lysa's orders and stirred whispers. He's one of them, some muttered, but Lysa saw a chance. The fjord brought him here, she said. Let's see why. Picture it, you, Orn sitting by a Bjarmian fire, his leather armor traded for a woolen cloak, his axe left by the shore. The Bjarmians, wary but open, shared their meal fish stew thick with barley, passed in wooden bowls. Bjorn's eyes widened at the taste, so different from the Vikings' salted pork. Sigrid, her nose piercing flashing as she leaned forward. Teased, better than your mead. Aye, big guy. Her humor, sharp as a flint arrow, broke the ice, and Bjorn chuckled, a sound like stones tumbling. This was cultural exchange, raw and real, a collision, softening into connection. The Bjarmians, who shared everything, offered bread. Bjorn, in turn, showed them how to mend a torn sail, his rough hands steady. You feel that, don't you? The spark when strangers find common ground, like a friend sharing a coffee and a story. Torin, his trembling hands worse after the battle, watched Bjorn closely. His act of mercy had saved the Viking, but doubt had a cost. Torin's heart wrestled with guilt. Had he weakened the tribe? Yet Bjorn's presence stirred something else, hope. He sat by Sigrid, their shoulders brushing, her quiet strength grounding him. You did right, Shaky, she murmured, her voice soft but firm. Killing's easy, sparing's hard. Her words like Lysa's wisdom were a life quote for you. Strength isn't in the blade, but in the hand that holds it back. Think about it when life pushes you to lash out. Don't you find power in choosing kindness instead? Torin's struggle, so human, mirrors your own moments of doubt, doesn't it? That ache to do what's right even when it's tough. Lysa's leadership shone here too. A woman in a world where men like Ragnar roared loudest. She brokered peace with a weaver's patience, threading trust where fear once stood. She invited Bjorn to stay, not as a prisoner but a guest, defying the Viking code of vengeance. Her nose piercing, a bone ring earned in a storm-swept ritual, marked her as a bridge builder, a role as vital as any warrior's. Picture her sitting across from Bjorn, her eyes sharp, asking, "What do you seek, wanderer?" Bjorn spoke of home fjords like theirs, but lives driven by glory, not community. The Bjarmians listened, their masks off, their hearts open, seeing themselves in his hunger for a better life. This was their power, not just traps and slings, but empathy, a weapon sharper than flint. The Bjarmians' culture rooted in the fjord's rhythms shaped this moment. Their masks, worn in battle to blend with shadows, were now symbols of unity, set aside to show trust. Their nose piercings, earned through trials of courage, gleamed as they worked together, rebuilding traps and mending nets. Even their weapons, sinew bows, reed slings rested nearby, a reminder of their strength, but also their choice to pause. They shared stories with Bjorn, tales of fjord spirits, of nights spent chanting under stars. He shared his own saga of sea voyages, of losses like theirs. Picture it, a firelit circle, voices weaving a new thread, cultures meeting like rivers joining the sea. Humor lightened the weight. Sigrid, passing Bjorn a bowl, grinned, "Don't spill. Viking, you're not built for dish duty." Torin laughed, his tremors easing, and even Lysa smirked, saying, "He'd break our bowls before he cleaned them." Here's a pun for you. The Vikings came to raid, but the Bjarmians weighed their hearts instead. That's the spirit, y'all finding a chuckle when the air's heavy, like a joke shared over a campfire. You're smiling, aren't you? Let that warmth sink in. A reminder that laughter builds bridges where walls once stood. This exchange wasn't easy. Hardships lingered. The fisherman's widow wept quietly, her nose piercing a faint glint in the dark. Torin's hands shook worse. His health a shadow he couldn't outrun, and he wondered if he'd earned Sigurd's pride. Lysa, her joints creaking, feared her age might fail the tribe if Ragnar returned. You've felt that, haven't you? The ache of loss, the doubt of being enough, yet pushing on for those you love. Picture their longhouses, warm with shared fires but heavy with grief. Their resilience, though, was a tide lifting all a lesson for you. We're stronger together, Lysa said. Another life quote. A single thread snaps, but a rope holds. Feel that gratitude, you. For the people who weave your life tight, for the safety of your bed tonight. The Bjarmians' economic power their fish. Furs, amber drew the Vikings, but their true wealth was community. Unlike the Norsemen who hoarded for glory, they shared every bowl, every blanket. This egalitarianism with women like Lysa and Sigurd as vital as any man was their quiet rebellion. Bjorn saw it, his eyes softening as he carved a wooden fish for a Bjarmian child. A gift for their gift. You see it too, don't you? The strength in giving and lifting others up. It's like sharing a meal with a neighbor, a small act that builds something bigger. Torin and Sigurd grew closer, their bond a flicker of love amid the scars. Her touch steadied his shaking hands, her faith a mirror to his courage. Picture them by the fjord, her nose piercing, catching moonlight as she said, "You're more than your hands, Torin." He blushed, his heart lighter, like you feel when someone sees your true strength. Their connection, fragile but real, was a bridge. Like Lysa's talks with Bjarn, but something stirred a secret buried in the fjord's depths, tied to the Bjarmians' past, whispering of ties to the Vikings themselves. Asterisk, you feel that hum, don't you, cozy and calm? Peace is dawning, but a hidden truth waits to break free. What could it be? The fjord's whispers hold one last secret. You, a truth buried deep that ties the Bjarmians and Vikings together. Ready to uncover it? Sink into your cozy refuge. Let the world's hum fade like ripples on water. Picture the fjord's misty cliffs. Their glow a soft cradle for a tale of unity and legacy. You're safe here, wrapped in a story where past meets present, where courage and connection light the way. Breathe slow, feel your heart ease, and let the Bjarmians' final chapter guide you toward peace, gratitude, and a gentle drift toward sleep. The Bjarmian village glowed under the aurora borealis, its green and purple ribbons dancing across. The sky like spirits celebrating the tribe's victory. Longhouses stood warm, their thatched roofs dusted with frost, the air thick with the scent of wood smoke and dried fish. The battle scars lingered a widow's quiet tears, a child's bandaged hand, but the Bjarmians, stubborn as the fjord's tides, gathered by their central fire, masks of bark and bone, once worn for war, now hung on walls. Their carved swirls a testament to survival. Nose piercings amber and bone glinted as villagers passed bowls of stew. Their unity a thread weaving them tight. Their weapons flint-tipped spears, sinew-strung bows, reed-woven slings rested by doors, silent but ready, a reminder of the land's fierce embrace. Elder Lysa stood tall, her gray braids swaying, her nose piercing, catching the aurora's light. Her joints ached, but her spirit burned bright, a woman's wisdom guiding a tribe through storm and peace. Torin, his trembling hands steadier in the fire's warmth, sat by Sigurd, her teasing smile a lifeline. Bjorn, the Viking who stayed, carved a wooden raven for a child, his scarred hands gentle, his presence a bridge where blood once flowed. The Bjarmians had won not just a battle, but a chance to redefine their world. Their story, though, wasn't done. Something stirred in the fjord, a secret older than the cliffs, ready to surface. The revelation came at dawn, when Lysa led a small group to the fjord's edge. Picture it, you, the water lapping soft, the mist curling like a lover's whisper. Lysa, her mask off but her authority clear, knelt by a hidden cove where a stone slab lay half buried in moss. Carved into it were symbols, Bjarmian swirls of sea and raven, but also Norse runes, intertwined like roots. "We're not so different," she said, her voice low. The secret? The Bjarmians were part Norse, descendants of a lost Viking clan who'd settled here generations ago, blending with locals to forge a new way. Their masks, their nose piercings, their nature-bound ways, they were a fusion, a living bridge between worlds. You feel that, don't you? The hum of connection, the truth that even foes share roots. This wasn't just history, it was legacy. The Bjarmians' stand against Ragnar's crew rippled beyond their fjord. Other tribes, hearing of their victory, took heart, using cunning over might to resist raiders. Their story, though forgotten by sagas, lived in the land, the fjord's currents, the forest's shadows, the amber traded far and wide. Their egalitarianism, where women like Lysa and Sigrid stood equal to men, challenged the Viking code of conquest. Picture Lysa teaching Bjorn to weave a net, her hand steady despite age, showing him strength and sharing. "We don't take," she said. "We build." That's a life quote for you. Roots don't fight the soil. They grow through it. Think about it, your own strength grows when you lift others, doesn't it? Thorin's arc found its close here. His trembling hands, a secret he'd feared would shame him, became his badge of courage. Picture him by the fire, Sigrid's hand in his, her nose piercing glinting as she whispered, "You're enough, Shaky." Their love, quiet but fierce, was a spark of hope, like a seed breaking through frost. Thorin had spared Bjorn, a choice that haunted him. But now it bore fruit. Bjorn taught the Bjarmians to carve stronger boats, blending Viking skill with their own. You've felt that, haven't you? A moment when kindness, not force, changed everything. Thorin's vulnerability, so human, mirrors your own struggles, health, doubt, fear, and his resilience reminds you, you're tougher than you know. Humor wove through their healing. Sigrid, watching Bjorn fumble with a net, grinned. "You Vikings are all thumbs with anything but an axe." Bjorn laughed, tossing back, "And you Bjarmians weave nets better than lies." The village roared, their laughter a bomb, like a joke shared with friends after a long day. Here's a pun for you. The Vikings came to plunder, but the Bjarmians wove a new story. That's the spirit, you're finding light in the cracks, like a chuckle over coffee when life's heavy. You're smiling now, aren't you? Let that warmth settle, a reminder that joy persists even in tough times. The Bjarmians' culture shone bright. Their masks, once tools of war, now hung as symbols of unity. Their carvings telling stories of fjord and forest. Nose piercings earned through trials marked their shared strength. Lysa's bone ring, Sigrid's amber gleam, Thorin's simple bone loop, each a badge of belonging. Their weapons crafted from nature flint. Sinew, reeds rested, but their tactics lived on. Whispered to other tribes, use the land. Strike from shadows, outwit, don't outfight. Their economic power, their fish, furs, amber fed their community. Not greed, a quiet rebellion against a world of hoarding. You see it, don't you? The power in giving, like sharing a meal with a neighbor, building bonds that last. Hardship was their shadow, but it shaped their light. Picture the widow weaving alone, her nose piercing a faint glint, her hands steady despite grief. Torrens tremors, Lysa's aching joints. The child's bandage, they carried loss, yet stood tall. You've been there, haven't you? Facing pain, a health scare, a loss, a doubt, but finding strength in those around you. Their resilience was a tide, lifting all, and it's a lesson for today. Lean on your people, and you'll rise. We're threads in time's tapestry, Lysa said. Another life quote, every snag makes the pattern richer. Feel that gratitude, you, for the warmth of your bed, the love in your life, the chance to keep weaving your story. The Bjarmians' legacy wasn't in sagas or gold, but in the ripples they left. Bjorn stayed, his Viking heart softened by their ways, teaching and learning, a bridge between worlds. Other tribes, inspired, stood firmer against raiders, their fjords humming with the same cunning. The Bjarmians faded from history, their name lost, but their spirit, it's in the cliffs, the tides, the stories shared by firelight. You feel it, don't you? That echo of courage, that truth that we're all tied, like roots beneath the earth. Their fusion, Norse and local, warrior and weaver, was their victory. A reminder that even in clash, connection can grow. The Bjarmian story hits deep, doesn't it? In a world torn by division, doubt, and hardship, they built a shield of community friends, family, even strangers sharing a kind word. That's their magic, choosing connection over conflict, empathy over anger. Picture your own circle, who's in it, holding you up. Their tale, with that fjord secret of Viking roots, whispers we're all more alike than we think. Waves in the same sea, Lysa might say. Doesn't it make you grateful for the warmth in your life, the chance to choose unity? What's your take? How does the Bjarmian story of resilience and togetherness resonate with you? Who's in your circle, and how do you build bridges in tough times? Drop your thoughts below. The village sleeps under the aurora's glow, its fire a soft pulse. Lysa stands by the fjord, mask in hand, eyes on the stars. Torren and Sigrid dream, hands clasped, of love outlasting war. Bjorn carves a raven, his heart fully Bjarmian, woven into their story. The fjord hums, its secret free, its legacy alive. Asterisk, and you, cozy in bed, feel that peace, don't you? Their tale is your lullaby, urging you to rest easy, knowing you're tougher, kinder than you know. So what's their story sparking in you tonight? Share below.